Ready? All right, welcome back, passive income investors alike. Today we're sitting here with Mike, the investor, my first ever live stream. We're trying to pull this off, so hopefully it's going to be smooth. So welcome, Mike.
Kyle, thanks for having me, man. It is a pleasure to finally meet you in person. This is the six-figure stock figure, man. So he has a ton of energy. Great guy. I'm super excited to meet you, man. So how's your day been going?
My day has been great. Sunday, taking it easy. Glad we get to chat with you here a little bit as well. So I guess we'll just jump right into this because obviously my subscribers know more about me than you, and I don't even know that much about you. You just sent me this message that I've neglected for like a month, and then finally I found it, and I'm glad that this has kind of actually happened. But I guess we'll start with some really basic questions, which is like, how long have you been investing for? What got you into investing? What got you down this path?
Yeah, absolutely. So what got me into investing? Well, first I started investing April 24th was the exact day. So I remember like it was yesterday. So the very first stock I bought was a penny stock. And, you know, most people, when they kind of jump down that road, you know what I mean? They kind of go through this the style of buying penny stocks to kind of see if they can gain an extra lot of capital gain or something like that. So the first stock I bought was Pier 1.
Yeah, that's how we all start.
So I started with Pier 1, and as time go on, my portfolio started to change. And what really intrigued me, though, was dividends, you know, getting paid while you sleep. And one of the things that Warren Buffett always would say was, if you never learn how to earn money while you sleep, you will work forever. And just the idea intrigued me on being able to just earn money while you sleep, or not being able to constantly trade your time for, you know, earn income. You know, that just intrigued me.
So I want to ask you, though, did you ever make money day trading? Have you made money off any of that?
No, I actually never tried day trading. I just bought super low stocks and just hope they went up. You know what I mean? So I never messed with margin or option trading or anything like that. I'm pretty old man style, I guess, if you will.
And how long have you been in it for?
Just 6 months.
Oh, 6 months. Yeah, because you're pretty brand new. Because I was looking at a couple of your videos with your Robinhood account. So you've just been building these accounts for 6 months. This is still pretty new to you. But when did you like get that bug? Was it literally 6 months ago, or was it a little before that?
Well, I would say 6 months ago, I had the courage to get into the stock market, if that makes sense. Because, you know, a couple of years ago, I always wanted to join, but I was terrified. You know, I was like, man, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't want to lose my money. You know what I mean? So it was just all these weird thoughts, you know, going through my mind, trying to figure out, hey, how do you make money in the stock market, or how do you even start? You know, but I finally just kind of, you know, the old saying, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you kind of, you know, you want to create your own, you know, your own path for yourself, you know.
That's good for you, man. When I got into stocks, it all started with penny stocks, like Timothy Sykes kind of stuff. I remember trading like DCIX. I remember the first real hit that I ever had with a day trade that like blew my mind. I think it was it was either DRYS or DCIX. When Trump became president, there was so much hype around. I think I was watching, there's a YouTube channel that still day trades. I think it's called Supreme Penny Stocks. And this guy was going on about how these chipping stocks were going to explode with the volume they finished with in the day. So literally I got up. The second the market opened, I bought like, I think 500 shares of one of those companies because they were so cheap. I think I dumped a couple grand into it. Literally in like 5 minutes, the stock price went from like $8 all the way up to like 12, 13, 14, and then all of a sudden, literally within the same minute, it just started flipping to the other direction. So I sold, and I got out at like an average of like 9 or 10. Either way, I made $500 in all of like a minute. But if I went to the bathroom without a stop loss on, I would have lost half my money. And then like I started learning more about it. I tried a little bit more, made money, lost money. I never really made money day trading. But so I started gearing away from it because I realized like you really have to be on this to not screw it up, and you really need to know the tools, stop losses, whatever. But the thing that I think drove me into it the most was probably the more Warren Buffett style, like finding companies you understand. And being in Canada, I got so lucky with Canopy Growth Corp, man. That was like the thing that drove it home for me, because I was buying Canopy for like $3.80 a share. And I ended up flipping it somewhere in the 5s and 6s, and I got out of it for a while. I only made, I think, a couple $1,000s off of it, but I was like, back then I had like no money. Like I was trading with maybe 5 or 10,000. So it ended up doing pretty well. I made a couple grand, and then I just walked away from it for a good half a year. But then as soon as legalization started coming up, and I realized Canopy was the biggest at the time, even for how small it was back then, I ended up loading the boat. Like, I think I bought about 1,000 shares at $8. I got my mom in there as well. Started throwing her money in it because no one else would listen to me. Man, I was so sure about that trade. I was telling my friends, I'm like, look, I'll cover, if it drops, I'll cover 30% of the loss. Like, but if it makes money, I want 20%. But I'll cover like almost half the downside if it drops. I swear, I'm like that confident about this stock. So nobody listened to me. No one cared. So I did it for myself, and I ended up making like 22 or 23,000 at the final trade of it. I don't think I'm ever going to get a win that big again. But once I had that win, and then you start building up the account, like all of a sudden dividends become more of a. It's hard to say for beginner investors, though, man, because you're so new to this. If you don't mind me asking, I think you show on your accounts, but how much are you trading with, or not trading, but long-term investing with?
So in my Robinhood, which is my main account, it just hit over 4,000. So I got about 4,200 in there now. I have a stash portfolio that's really, really small. So I mean, it's really for newer investors. Only has over $100 in there. And then I have a bonds portfolio that's not attached to the stock market at all, which I think is pretty cool. It just gives you a flat 5%, return on your money. So nothing extravagant, but something to kind of keep your money still growing, and it's completely liquid as well. So I can take it out at any time if I needed it.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's I've been looking at bonds recently as well. But so do you? I'm gonna get a little off side tangent here, but do you own a house right now? Do you own any property? Are you renting?
We are renting now. Currently, before we moved where we are currently now, we did buy a home, sold a home. So I have been on the side of buying a house and selling a house. We did come out ahead from selling the home, so it was nice. I was able to pay off some debt and everything like that.
Ah, good. So what were you in debt from?
Honestly, just bad spending.
We've all been there.
Like certain credit card things, student loans, just like your norm, nothing like crazy, just like
the typical Dave Ramsey.
Pretty much, you know what I mean? But now we're pretty much, me and my wife are almost completely debt free. All we pretty much have is student loans. My car is paid off. So things are going well. No credit card debt, really. Things are moving really well.
Good for you, man. I'm going to ask, where are you from?
I'm from Illinois, so I'm Midwest, currently where I still live. So I'm born and raised here in Illinois, so I'm a Midwest person, man.
There's a song I was just listening to. I used to listen to in high school. You ever hear of Tech Nine?
Oh, yeah.
The Midwest.
It's a classic. I haven't heard of the song, but I definitely heard of Tech Nine.
Yeah, no, I was going through like my old high school music because I was re-updating some of my lists, and I found it. I was like, holy crap, I can't believe I used to listen to this stuff. I was just thinking, because the one song that I like a lot is Midwest. But anyways, but you're crushing it, man. So you got most of yourself out of debt. Student loans are pretty much out of the way at this point. You're not doing too bad. See, the problem I'm having here is I'm tired. I live with my parents. Which seems somewhat degrading at my age for me at this point, and I'm getting tired of it. But like in Canada, especially like in any greater city like Vancouver, Toronto, it's so absolutely insane, and I feel so bad for my friends because like I've done nothing but work my ass off. I had to pay off. I had loans. Like when I was 19, I took out $20,000 in debt. Wish I never did it, but it was one hell of a learning curve. And then so
that again. I'm sorry.
I took out about $22,000 or $23,000 in debt to try and start a business. But if I knew what I knew now, I'd work on building a business and renting equipment rather than just upfront buying it, presuming I'm going to need it when you don't really know what you're going to be utilizing. But that ended up obviously leading me to a path of understanding how businesses work. Once I started learning more about businesses and how other businesses work, my mom kind of actually introduced me to the stock market, because once I paid off my student loan, or not similar to student loans, it was pretty much the same thing for business. But once I paid those off, I kept telling my mom, I'm like, you know how much fun it would be to try and find a way to get involved in other people's businesses. And that's when she kind of introduced me to the stock market, because she's like, you can just buy stocks and own shares in businesses, right? I'm like, never heard of it before. I'm like, I never even looked at Business News Network once. But literally the second she told me that, I started watching it, and I was like hooked overnight. And then 6 years later, here I am. But yeah, so it takes a lot of time. I've never made that much money. Like personally, I don't think I've ever made. The best year I had, I think I made about $60,000 a year. But honestly, with the expenses, and that was probably the year I had Canopy as well. But because like the business I run is so high expense, like I'm really not making as much after the expenses. So I've really only been putting away maybe $15,000 a year, $1,200 a month, like nothing crazy. I mean, it's a lot, but it's not like it's not substantial for the account that I have. And I think that's what I
Yeah.
don't get across enough, that like, you know what, like I am putting 1,000 a month, which is a lot, but at the same time it's not. It's still pretty small chunk change. It's just you
It's
see that,
impressive, though.
yeah, it grows, but again with Canopy Growth Corp and then dividends and stocks that I've held for a very long time. Even though right now half my accounts are like all in the red, but I'm still above S&P 500 levels. So my rule of thumb with investing has always been if you consistently underperform the markets, then like you just need to buy index funds. So I've always had that from day one. From day one, I'm like, you know what? If I screw this up, I'm
Right.
just gonna buy index funds. Like, I don't think people have that mindset, because I know a lot of people that were investing into other businesses outside of the stock market that were super risky, and they
Yeah.
lost like $15,000-$20,000, and it really turned them off from investing. And even now, I can't drag them into the markets because they're so paranoid of all that stuff. But like, I don't think they realize. Like, it bothers me that people get that tainted by like bad investments. One of my really good friends, I tried to get to buy Canopy Growth Corp, that wouldn't. Hurt me
Yeah.
so bad inside. But that is what it is. But yeah, so you're still fairly new to the whole game. But
Yeah.
and I wish I had the subscribe hat. I wanted a Stock Twits hat. The only thing I still have the little sticker thing from Stock Twits, but
Nice.
one of the guys had the Stock Twits hat. I'm like, I wanted one, but they were all gone. But yeah, so you're still pretty new and fresh to this, man. So you're not even a year deep yet, but you're crushing it pretty good for those kind of accounts. So how much money are you putting away a month?
So it hasn't been like a consistent amount every month, but it's been I budget every month, and sometimes I have more money than others to put into my investments, so I would just put in. But on average, it's been about 500, a month into my Robinhood account.
That's not bad.
So and I have 26 holdings in that account. Out of the 26, four of those are exchange traded funds, and all 26 holdings pay me dividends as well.
Nice. So you're taking a much different route than I started with, but it's finding that growth too, right? I don't know. It's hard to tell what a new investor to do. A lot of people, like, I have people that want to give me money, and I'm just like, it bothers me so much, because I'm like, I have access to a lot of capital if I wanted it, even for online businesses or something outside of the stock market. Luckily, when you get in this world, like, you start networking with people that have money, and when you know something they don't, they're pretty open to be like, do you want 10 grand? And I'm like, not yet. Like, I'm not at that level where I'd be comfortable doing that. But again, Canopy was ignorance days. Back then, I was dumb. So I was like, I'd take anybody's money. But now I'm like, you know what? Let me make sure I know what I'm doing. But at the same time, like, to try and tell a new investor how to invest is so challenging, because I know people that won't invest in the stock market, but they trade cars. This guy started when he was in high school, took out an $8,000 loan, bought a used car, and flipped it within 3 weeks for like 13,000. He ended up, after the loans and stuff, he made like 4 grand, and he's been doing it ever since. But now he's trading like Lambos, and I can't convince the guy to buy stocks. He's not a big fan of stocks, but it's just like, and I try and tell people that too, right? Like, you need to find an investment platform that works for you. So for me to tell you to just do dividends, like, you can, but I don't know if that's your best route, because like you said, if you don't know anything about it, you might be better off just buying index funds, putting a little money there, and then just focusing on something you're much better at,
Right.
especially if you can get it to become passive over time. And I mean, flipping cars can't be that much intensive, I'd imagine, because you're just buying a car, it sits there for a while, you're just throwing it online. So I mean, it's hard to tell somebody. But if you were to tell, I guess you're brand new to this, so I mean, if you seem like you've got your head on straight, so who are the people that you follow? If someone's interested in stock investing, dividends investing, who do you follow as well? Like, who inspires you to stick to this kind of platform?
One of the main people everyone here, I mean, Warren Buffett, man. I mean, his cost on Coca-Cola, the dividends he received just from that company alone blew my mind. It was just, I was just like, how long he held the company, and it just showed the power of compound interest and passive income working together. And Warren Buffett's one of the main people that I would say that really stood out to me, because I mean, granted, he has a lot of growth companies as well. His own company, Berkshire Hathaway, does not pay dividends at all.
Just hilarious.
So I just kind of looked at his concept and kind of looked at some of the successful people. One of the main people I looked at was Warren Buffett. I really don't know too many other well-known people out there, except for Benjamin Graham, who was Warren Buffett's mentor. But I don't really know too much of his story, honestly. I follow more of Warren Buffett's than anything. So I looked at other YouTubers like yourself. I mean, six figures, that's within itself something to look up to, you know. So
Yeah, it's weird, man. I honestly, the biggest milestones on that aspect, because, man, it's so weird to look at it, because I don't feel like I have any money, because I always look at income, and I don't focus on the portfolio aspect of it. And again, six figures Canadian. Let's put that in perspective here, first of all. Okay, there's a big difference between U.S. and CAD. I mean, I'm probably sitting on 70 or 80,000 U.S. With the conversion rates, but at the same time, like for me, it doesn't. Like for milestones, because you're still pretty new to this, I'm sure you're going to find this as well once it starts growing. The biggest milestone I think I hit was 20,000. 10,000 is a pretty big deal, but honestly, when you get into that 20,000, 30,000, and you start seeing the dividend return, because now you're paying for like almost a free trip or like coffee and food almost every day. When you get into that 10, 20,000 mark, like you start feeling it. But after that, like when I hit 50, it was kind of like meh. And when I hit 100, like I didn't even notice it. It just didn't feel like anything. Wow. You don't. I think you should try and celebrate the wins. I remember talking to some guys, says you got to celebrate the little stuff. But for me, it was just a grind. And once you get into that grind, like it starts screwing with you a bit because you start realizing they're just numbers and they fluctuate a lot. Like at the beginning of this year, my account dropped to 104,000 from like 110, and I didn't even like bat an eye at it because I was like, whatever. It's because I had a lot of money in Apple, which was a lot of volatility in that at the beginning of the year. But by the end of it, man, you stop caring as much about the ones and the zeros. Like, I don't think people get too caught up in it. I think after a while as well, you find that it gets really boring. I know, like, do you ever watch the guy that just left, Dividend Grinder, who changed his name like 3 times? A lot of people, like, there's so much drama around that guy when he quit just because of, like, it depends on what your heart's in this for. And for me, it's just the community, like meeting people with similar like goals in mind, which is, again, trying to teach everybody about something nobody knows anything about, which is crazy, right? But once you get into the grind of it, honestly, it'll get so mundane on the ones and zeros. Like, you stop caring about it at the end of the day. And I found it was the same with day trading almost. Like, at the end of day trading, like, it's like a video game, right? Like, you're just riding the roller coaster. So it just depends on what your personal goals are and trying to work toward them and focusing on getting to that. But yeah, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. It feels, my girlfriend reminds me a lot too. She's like, you need to stop beating yourself up because I'm going through a bit of a job transition right now. And I quit. I worked with my business partner that ran a DJ company, but it got so debilitating because I've been doing it for 8 years. Good money, but at the same time, like I had this big debate. Like, is it all about the money? Should I just keep grinding and killing myself, or start focusing on like more of my life goals? Because that's something else that you're going to end up finding too when you start playing this game. It becomes like an endless grind of just trying to get those numbers in the bank and keep growing it. But then after a while, man, it gets so debilitating because you start sacrificing a lot out of your personal life to keep that income coming in and keep that going. So I'm trying to find a balance now where like I enjoy my job and I'm not doing my job just for the money aspect of it, because I still want to enjoy my life. And I think that probably speak to a lot of people getting into this game. There's probably a lot of people out there that are killing themselves.
I think you just spoke a lot of value there, man. I think you dropped some gold nuggets. So if you haven't subscribed to Kyle, man, be sure to check his channel out, man. Very knowledgeable.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun to watch you, man, like getting up there. And who knows, maybe the economy turns the other way, we see a recession, or the stocks that I'm holding continue to go down, and then all of a sudden we see my account drop 20,000, which would be a lot more entertaining for everybody to watch. But
it'd be a good buying point, though, you know, like, and, you know, even when the Fed rate cut happened, to be completely honest, like my portfolio went down about 2%. And during, what was that? Not September. Was it September Fed rate cut happened?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So September, you know, we kind of had some fluctuations in the market, and I didn't freak out, honestly, you know, because I really try to prepare my mind for, I mean, the market has been at the peak for so long, you know, so you can't expect it to run at 100% without recharging itself, you know. So for example, me and you are taking a hike, and each step we take, we put a brick in our book bag, and every step we add another brick, but we never take out a brick to add room for another one. Eventually, you're going to have to slow down because you're not going to move anymore. So it's kind of the same thing with the market, and you can just kind of see so many things that's happening with the trade wars, the Fed rate cuts, and the yield curve, and that there's so many things that's happening and transpiring that you can just kind of see, okay, there's something. You have companies that's hit 652-week highs in a year. Starbucks, for example, that's insane. You know what I mean? Like, for companies to grow that fast and to grow that much at its peak, just kind of goes to show that there's some handwriting on the wall that I believe that a recession probably
around
is
the corner.
I don't know when. I could be completely wrong, but I'm prepared, and I'm preparing my mind for that now. So when it does happen, it's easier to kind of withstand it. You know what I mean?
This is probably the hardest market to ever understand. Like, there is nothing cyclical about like what is going on right now, especially considering we haven't had a credit cycle. There's a lot of things that like people have been so used to seeing in the market, and like the base understanding of how currency works all comes down to these cycles, right? But we haven't had that other end cycle. But the question is it even going to happen? Because we're in a whole different world than we were even like after 08, 09, the big housing crash. And I think the next the crisis we're going to have, I don't know how much if it is even a crisis, because I don't think it's going to be more. It all relates, I guess, but I don't think it's going to be as much about the stock market, because there's so much companies doing share buybacks. There's so much money out there that's what's propping the market up. And for as long as like cheap money's out there, for as long as companies like Apple just keep doing share buybacks, like at the end of the day, even if people are selling, they're just buying back as fast as it's dropping. So the thing that I think is going to be like the biggest fear in the market is going to be probably either something related to car loans, student loans, anything maybe related to housing. In Canada here especially, people are again, it's hard to debate this because we have so much foreigners coming into the country, and we're like the most open country, and I love the diversity, but it's making it very hard to read the economy, because a lot of these people that are coming to this country have a lot of money, and it's what's been propping up the housing market and everything. But people that have lived here, like, we're not rich, and especially if you live in Toronto, you can't live on a minimum wage anymore. Like, you have to be making more than $70,000 a year to even afford an apartment. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot of issues with just individuals. I think there's going to be some big credit problem that's going to arise. And it might not be now, like, who knows, it could be 5-10 years from now, but there's just way too many people with debt. Like, all of my friends, like I said, I'm really worried about my friends because they don't even know how expensive it is to even try and live, because we're all living at home with our parents, right? So they haven't had time to look at the stock market or look at houses because they're still struggling to pay off their 20 or 30,000 that they have left owing. But I don't, and that's what's holding the market back, right? Like, we have a huge homelessness problem, as it's called, because we're not moving out. So technically we're homeless because we're still living at home. Sure, we might be paying rent, but I guarantee it's nothing like paying $2,200 a month for like a condo downtown, or even just trying to find a basement apartment for $1,500 a month. So, I mean, it's going to be neat to see what happens, but I don't know how much of it's going to be related to the stock market. It's so hard to predict a crash, is why I like Warren Buffett style investing, which is just long term. I was just watching a video that I like quoting because Dave Ramsey made this one. I talk a lot about Dave Ramsey. I don't even like the guy that much, but he's got good quotes, man. But his best quote ever, I just literally watched the video before we had this conversation, and he's just going on about, like, it's like a roller coaster, but the only people that lose are the people that jump off like midway. It's like it's a 20-year ride. Like, if you're on it for 20 years, you can't get a year into it and be like, oh shit, all these people are talking about a crash, so let's get off. And again, if a market crash comes, you don't know what kind of crash it's going to be either. It might be something outside of the stock market. It might be a sector in the stock market. It could just be a global slowdown, and we might see what a lot of people are saying, and the thing that I thought would be most likely to happen is just sideways. I think we're just going to see like a lot of sideways for a while. I don't think we're going to see too many ups or serious downs except individual stocks. But with the basic indexes, I honestly just, it's hard to debate even still with share buybacks and stuff. But I think we're going to see more of a trending sideways for a while. And if something happens, you never know, you get one of those black swan events like a 9/11 or something. That could be another big thing. But to try and sit here and debate stock market crashes, it's always like, it's always the most disheartening conversation for me. I don't know, have you ever watched somebody like Peter Schiff?
No.
Okay, so I've watched so many guys, man. I can recommend like Bill Ackman. There's a lot of feuds between him and the other guy. I can't remember what his name is. But there's so many guys. But Peter Schiff is a big gold bug. Like he was one of the main guys I started watching 6 or 7 years ago, because before I was even looking at stocks, I was just buying gold. I ended up buying like literally $30,000 worth of gold is what I had at one point, gold and silver. But and it was all fear mongering. Like when I got into investing, man, like the whole mindset after 08 was just fear. Everyone you talk to was just, this can't happen, all this printed money, all this debt and all this stuff, and it really kind of puts a worm in your brain that starts corrupting you, I think. Because you're buying businesses, right? Like you're not playing a game against the economy. Like you're buying individual businesses, and it's so hard to grasp that when you're buying it on your computer and it's just a quick buy, sell, hit a button. And I think people keep forgetting the intrinsic value of you're buying a company that has employees, real estate, people that show up to work every day that want to get paid. They want to be able to afford to feed their families. Like, you're not buying a piece of paper that's just whimsical, right? Whereas with gold, like, gold has that intrinsic value, but at the same time, the average rate of return sucks. Sure, it stabilizes your portfolio if you want that stability, but then you have to deal with the other aspect of you're owning something physical. It has to sit somewhere. You have to protect it. You have to make sure it's maintained and like not going to go anywhere, and you're not going to forget it. And then if you got a will, like, you got to make sure if you're going to die or have a car accident that somebody knows where you're hiding it. Most the videos I used to watch, people would teach you how to drill out holes in your concrete basement wall and slip in like lock boxes. and then they're like, you can't tell anybody. If you tell anybody, it's a huge risk. But it's like, yeah, but then you die. And like one day somebody's tearing apart this house and finds like a couple $100,000 worth of precious metals in the wall, and you can't feed your family with that.
Correct.
Again, Warren Buffett, man, the whole idea of buy a farm, you're better off owning a farm. Who cares what it does on the day-to-day, so long as it's paying you out. Like,
exactly.
The value in that to me is so much greater than like the fear-mongering of stay out of the stock market.
Yeah.
So you're probably big cost averaging, right? Like you're...
Yeah. And that's why I chose the style of dividends. Like, there's no knock against, just investing in growth companies or value companies like your Facebooks, your Amazons, your Netflix, your Teslas. There's nothing wrong with that. But when something, does happen, rather it's news media that hits the stock hard, or something, whatever it may happen, lawsuit or whatever.
So what stocks do you own within your portfolio? You said you own indexes, but what kind of individual stocks are you looking at? What ones are you buying?
My Dividend Kings that I own, I have Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, and ABM Industries. And then for my Aristocrats, I have AT&T, Archer Daniels and Midland, and then I have, let's take a look, and then I have one other. Oh, I also have Altria, MO, which technically I call them the undividend qualified king because they are 50 years, but because of their stock spinoffs in 07 and 08 with Kraft, Heinz, and everything like that, and Philip Morris, it kind of took them off of the Dividend King list because of the dividends that they had in 07 and 08 technically didn't increase.
Yeah.
So it per se didn't allow them to have that unique name of Dividend King, but Altria as well, I think they are super solid. I think they're very, very solid. A lot of cash flow. They even generated over $25 billion over the last 5 years, every single year, on $127 in sales, $127 billion in sales. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah,
on a declining market. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's incredible.
Their stock has been beaten up so much. The only reason I like Altria so much is I don't think people realize like how incredible that management team is and the lawyers that they have. Just to put it in like perspective, like the thing they just went through with Juul, everyone was so worried about Juul, and they just came out with news that they're not selling flavored vapor products off their website anymore. They're still selling them in stores. So it's so funny to watch them play this game where they're trying to like coddle what the government wants by saying, look, we're going to pull all this stuff off the internet, but we're not going to pull off the mint or the menthol, which are their two best-selling online vapes. And then at the same time, they know that if people aren't getting nicotine through vapes, they're just going to go back to smoking cigarettes. I'm out in the woods here, man. Like, I'm about an hour 20 north of like downtown Toronto, but I literally am so rural out here, and there are so many problems with marijuana. Everybody smokes. And I grew up in school, man. In my school, like, you went outside and there was at least 30 kids smoking. And I'm not saying like smoking's good at all, but like you can't. This comes down to the moral debate, right? Like, it depends on where your moral attitude sits. But for me, it's just personal, man. Like, if you want to do something that's like, if you do it within reason, I don't think it's that big of a deal to your health. If you're an addict, I think Juul's amazing. I used vapor products to quit smoking. I smoked for about 2 years. And then, I started vaping, and it was so much easier to quit off vaping. Cigarettes are way more addictive than I think people make them out to be, and it's not the nicotine that's like the real addictive aspect of it. But at the same time, man, like, their management team and the way they run that company is just so mind-boggling for it to be down 50%, considering like the balance sheet hasn't changed at all. And it's just like, people aren't quitting smoking. Like, there's nothing in history that has, like, gold is the only thing with tobacco that have been in history books for just as long. Like, name one other product that you can buy into in the stock market that has that kind of history.
I know.
It's
over 50 years, man. Plus, and 34 million people still smoke.
Yeah, well, not that that's a good thing, but at the same time, it's just it's nature, man. It's
I think some people, I think people have a choice, and I think some people's choice will still be to smoke. So with that being said, I don't know. Some people look down because they say, me personally, I don't smoke tobacco. Or use tobacco products, but I do invest in the company. So some people may look at that and kind of think it's controversy. But I look at it as a good business investment.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And that's how I kind of look at it, and move on from there.
So on that note, what is your favorite stock right now? What one's got you driven up? What one's got you going? If it's not MO's got me going. It's literally at the beginning of this year, my whole focus has been like tobacco industry, sin stocks.
It's Johnson & Johnson and Coke. In my top 3 stocks, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, and Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola just did their expecting earnings. They were expected to do 56, cents earnings per share. They did that, which I expected them to do. So I was hoping for a little dip so I can add a little bit more in, because sometimes I don't like to add single shares in higher companies. Like, say if I'm adding $200 in this week, and Johnson & Johnson, we know it's about 120, 130 a share.
Yeah.
Well, that's only going to buy one share at that time.
Yeah.
So depending on if it's $5 to $10 higher than my average cost, typically I don't like to buy just one share. I would typically like to buy, in bulk, maybe 3 to 5 shares, just to make it a little bit more. It makes more sense, I think, that way.
Yeah, for sure. It's harder buying the smaller chunks. That's why I'm honestly not the biggest advocate of like M1 Finance. The whole fractional share thing, man, I don't know, maybe just because I'm a little bit more old school that way, but just looking at like buying these fractional shares, sure, if you want the diversification, like in my own opinion, like just buy the index, like save up $200 and buy the index fund. When I watch these people on YouTube and they're like managing like $10,000 between like 50 stocks, and they're making like 50 cents a quarter off the dividends per like company, and there's just sure, some people are doing great. Maybe I'm just being a little bit like hard, because I know some people I watch and they're actually doing well with it. But to me, it's just like, why don't you just buy an index fund instead of trying to personally manage and trade, 40 companies with $10,000? Like, you could literally just buy one of those companies and use like a decent chunk of dividend. I don't know. I've different philosophy maybe, but M1 is so new to me still, and when I watch people use it, I'm just like, I don't get it. I'm just like, it's like trading penny stocks, but they're real companies, but you don't own enough to make a difference. So it's just like, if you're buying individual companies, like you said, like you don't want to be buying, like it's nice if you can buy a few shares, save up $1,000 or whatever, and just try and buy a bigger chunk. I don't know what your portfolio looks like, to be honest. I'm just gonna pull up your YouTube real quick while I talk to you here.
Absolutely, man.
Because I'm not sure what you're buying there. Maybe I'm battering you in here as well. I'm not sure if you're buying smaller chunks of shares or what.
Well, my stash, no, you're good, man. And like you said, it's all about philosophy. It's all about what works for you. I've seen some really good M1 portfolios that's doing really well. And I've seen some portfolios that, I think they could probably do better just owning the full share. But, some people maybe I don't know. I think it will work for the person individually. I like the whole share aspect personally. That's why Robinhood is my main account. But the stash portfolio, I do the fractional shares on that. So.
Now, you're only 6 months into Robinhood, but I got to ask, because a lot of people have tax implications on stock trading, and I hear a lot about it. I don't know if you watch PPC Ian talks usually quite often about just the tax implications on certain stocks and certain accounts. I don't know how it works in the U.S., and you probably haven't run into this yet because if you're only 6 months deep into a portfolio, but does Robinhood do any of the tax accounting for you, or do you have to physically do that yourself?
If you're asking about the tax side, they send you your monthly statement every month based off of what you do for your brokerage, whether it's buy, sales, dividends, or anything like that. You will have all of that. So at the end of the year, you will have your I think it's your 1090 or something like that you'll get, that you'll be able to file. I do my own taxes, so I do electronically. You just be able to put your stuff in, and then basically upload all of your information. So Robinhood actually sends all of your trades and all of that information to you. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so do they break that down for you? Then you're not going through your own trades, are you? And then trying to figure out your losses and gains. It does all of it for you,
break
right?
that down for you, yeah. They actually send it to you, which is really nice.
Yeah, okay, because I was so confused about that in the beginning because a lot of people were buying into these accounts, and I was just curious to what the tax implications are because I use the banking. And unfortunately, in Canada, like, there's no good options for. I wish we had things like Robinhood and M1 Finance, but we don't even have. I think there's one company here that does commission free, but because it's not through a bank, I don't understand it well enough to want to utilize it. Because with the bank, you get all your taxes done for you. They send you the slips, and then you just file them with your account or whatever, which makes it super convenient, especially when you start managing like more than one account. It really makes it so much easier. But yeah, I don't know. It sucks here in Canada that way. I feel bad for. I think it's because we don't have the population, to be honest. Like, we only have 30 million, and it's just not. I don't think there's enough scale for them to be offering commission-free trading. So we're kind of shit out of luck here, paying like $10 a trade or whatever, $5 a trade, depending on how often you're making you're buying and selling stocks, which sucks. And you need minimums too, like with Scotiabank especially. Like, unless you have $50,000, usually the trades start at $20. To new people here, if they're looking from Canada to get into trading, I'd recommend something like Royal Bank. Royal Bank usually demands that you do 3 trades a quarter. And if you do 3 trades a quarter, the commissions are $10 a trade. And if you don't do those 3 trades, they end up charging you $30 every quarter. So you end up, if you don't do any trades at all, you get charged $120 a year. And if you do 3 trades a quarter, you're getting charged $10. So you're still paying that commission.
Right.
But it just sucks, man, because we don't have those options like you guys do in the States, which makes it really hard for new investors. Because even when I started trading, it was so hard when they were taking $20 commissions. Because at $20, like, if you're only trading $500 to $1,000, and even if you're day trading, like, you're losing $40 off the top line for that one click twice. Like, it's so annoying. But yeah, no, it's good. At least you guys have those options down there, right? But so I'm trying to figure out what we can.
I know Robinhood just went international as well. I know you're probably not looking to move any of your assets. Not you probably would do better leaving it where it is.
I'll look, but I don't think they're moving it to Canada unless you heard something I didn't.
Probably not. You probably know more about that than I would.
Yeah, because there's a big. When I was actually just at StockTwits, they were talking about the same thing because they just opened up a public trading platform that offers 0 commissions. But they said the same thing because they tried to do it internationally and open up in Canada as well. But according to like government regulation and stuff, apparently it's just impossible to try and do over the border platforms. So I don't know what the full deal is with that, but I don't know. I'll stick with my $10 trades because I've got my accounts built up pretty well now, so I'm not really paying much on anything, which is nice. But I feel bad, like I said, for new investors, it's always a challenge. It's a grind, and you're getting there, man. Like, you're doing pretty good for yourself. I mean, so you're married, right?
Yes, this December will be 6 years, man.
Oh my God, how old are you? I gotta ask, man.
I'm 27, man.
You're 27?
Yes, sir.
Oh shit, you're the same age. Wow. And you're married, man. You got married in your 20s. Jeez, you're young 20s too. Jeez.
Yeah, 21, man.
Holy crap. Hopefully if you've been together for 6 years, you're doing pretty well.
We've been married 6 years, and we've been together 11 years. So we've been together a long time.
Good for you, man. Those high school sweethearts usually don't last that long. Good for you, man. Doing well, doing well. Yeah, I haven't had that much luck. My girlfriend I have now is pretty good. We've been together for 2 years, but we're not in a rush to get married. If we were trying to get out of the house first and start living together and stop dealing with the at the parents, because she lives like an hour away from me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, which it's like we have a really good relationship. Like, it works really, really well. But I'm all over the place, so I'm in Toronto at least once or twice a week. So I'm always going by her house, which is nice. But yeah, the relationship wise is another tough deal. Now, does your wife get along with your portfolio and your personal goals? Do you guys are on the same path that way?
Yeah. She's not currently investing. I am, but she supports me to the T.
Yeah.
To the T. So I mean, I would say I've been trying to get her to investing, but she was like, "Well, I don't want to lose any money." So and I get it. That's the number one thought I got when I was like, "Man, I want to get into the stock market, but I don't want to lose any money." So I get it. So I'm just trying to get her in the aspect of it. She's great at budgeting, great at saving. I'm just trying to, per se, get her to, hey, look at this maybe investment. Maybe if you put maybe some of this here, your return will be a lot better.
Yeah.
Just trying to get her to look at other ways, per se. You don't have to be just a diehard stock investor. You know what I mean? Like, some people think that's the only way to, get ahead in life, which is not. But if you look at any millionaire, they have 5 to 7 streams of income, and one of those ways is always in the stock market. So it just kind of goes to show success leaves clues. When you get those clues and analyze those, you start to find answers.
So, I'm just going to ask you, what do you do for work?
So I am in management. I don't want to give the company away I work for.
That's all good, man. It's all good.
But once I think at a later date, it won't be this year or anything like that, but once I accomplish the goal that I have set out, I will release all of that information. If you probably understand that, though. But
no, it's all good, man. It's all good. So,
yeah.
With your job that you have, is it something that you plan on doing long term?
No. My goal is technically to be self-made in 3 years.
Oh, wow.
To be completely, earning money off my online businesses and everything like that.
Okay, so you're getting involved in online businesses. So is your online business part of this YouTube channel then, or?
Yeah. I already have. Well, I don't want to give too much information. We can kind of talk off the air. But I do have some things in the background working that I'm working to establish. But I'm a firm believer. You have to kind of, establish your foundation in your lane before you can move into another lane. So I'm just working on, building my brand and everything before I, bring these other things out to the public. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll talk off the air. I'm working on a ton of stuff right now, and I'm trying to just focus my goals on what I'm trying to achieve here. But I love the idea of this, just because in Canada especially, like, nobody understands finance. So I imagine you're going down some kind of educational route to try and help people out in this realm. But here, like, there's such a hole for us. So I'm just trying to put together a stock market course that I was telling you about, Reese. I wish it was done. I'd like to be promoting it. So maybe we can do some affiliate thing after. I don't know what you're getting. We'll talk more after all this is done. But with my own personal direction, man, is so you have a stable job then. So your job obviously offers you that form of stability that I don't have. And that's where a lot of my anxiety comes from, which is one of the reasons I got involved in the stock market, was because I just don't trust my income. It fluctuates so much. There's months where I could be making 5,000 or 6,000, and then there's months like this month. October's not that bad, but November, like, I barely have any work. Like, as of right now, I've only got about $1,000 worth of bookings, so it's not like substantial at all. Which, again, especially now that I've cut off a good section of my income. But that was just because I was debilitating. Like, I couldn't. I'm like, the depression and stuff builds up. I've been through it before, so I just know when to cut off stuff that's not going to make you happy. But like you said, I'm in a good situation just because I live at home with my parents. If, like you said, you need a lane, and I'm just glad that, like, it's hard if you're on your own. Like, if you're on your own, you couldn't just do that. Like, if I was on my own, for sure, there's no way I could just cut off a complete source of income. But because I'm still living at home, like, if I had to, I would just do, like, shared housing or something, which is good advice for somebody out there that might not be happy living at home. And this is something I talk to a lot of people about, which is, like, if you don't have the options that, like, I have, or that kind of luxury, which, again, is variant toward everybody, like, look into shared housing. Like, you can find places where you can live for $400 or $500 a month, which is probably as cheap as I am, would be the route that I would take. And I've looked at it a lot because I found, like, mansions where they're renting out the rooms, and there's like 8 rooms, and they're only charging like $600 a month. So you get the luxury of living in a mansion, shared housing, obviously, but you get your own bathroom and your own room. So I'm like, that's pretty great, right? I think a lot of people get a little, they kind of jump the gun, and they really want, like, that lifestyle, like that luxury style. Even with the money I have now, like, I am not willing to give up that freedom for those luxuries. Like, I told my girlfriend, the day we can afford avocados, and because avocados are fucking expensive, man. I'm like, the day we don't have to think about buying avocados is the day we've made it. I'm like, because every time we go to the grocery store, that's why I love my girlfriend so much, man. She's just as cheap as I am. Do you know what our dates are? I think it's $2.50 hot dog and drink at Costco. I swear to God.
Done, man.
My girlfriend hasn't started investing yet. Like, she just got a job. But she's always been in the mindset of, like, spend money on traveling, spend money on experiences over stupid crap. Like, you don't need a new car. Like, I love her family that way a lot, too. Like, her family's pretty well off, but they don't buy the newest shit. Like, they don't have any new cars. Like, they're so modest that way, and I love that, especially considering, like, when she wants to go out for dinner, it's like, let's go to Costco. There's free samples. Like,
that works, man. Easy on the checkbook.
That's when it comes to the relationship thing. I honestly think like it is such a big debate on how well your financial future is going to look. Because if you guys are not on the same page, it's done. Like the last girl I dated, her parents were worth so much money, and she had a credit card, and she would go out while she was in school, and I swear she was spending 4,000 to 5,000 a month just going out and doing whatever. She didn't even think about the cost of anything, just slapping the credit card everywhere we went. And like that relationship didn't last more than like 3 or 4 months because I'm like, I can't do this. She's like, why not? Like, just have fun, whatever. And it's like, I grew up on a farm, all right? Like, I grew up shoveling shit, stacking hay. Like, I didn't grow up in the world of daddy pays for whatever the hell I want and, like, get on a plane whenever you want. Like, that lifestyle to me is so frivolous and wasteful. So that relationship didn't last at all, unfortunately. But I'm glad that it didn't because it would have ruined me. And I think people get caught up in a lot. It's hard finding a girl that's willing to do that, though, man. It's hard finding a girl that doesn't mind going to Costco or McDonald's or something to get food and then chilling out at home and watching, like, you know, Netflix or whatever, and that's the life. But
Yeah.
it's
Honestly, my wife's into the tiny house thing. She's been working on me for probably about 2 years now. She's been wanting to do the tiny home thing. You know what I mean? Are you familiar with the tiny
no,
house thing?
but explain it so everyone kind of gets the gist.
So the tiny house thing is where basically it's a very small home. Maybe, I mean, they range from, I'm not no guru on any of this, so I don't know a ton of this, but it's like a very small home. You can travel with it if you want, or you can have it stationary. So it can be anywhere from maybe 200 to 400 square feet. They can be on like a moving van. They basically turn a car or some type of small space into a living area. So the entire space is a living area. Like they have TV shows on it, like on the HGTV channel.
Is that what you guys are trying to do? You want to try and move into the
Well, I'm open to it, but it has to make sense. This is kind of what I want to do per se. I want to have kind of like a dream home when I get there, but then have the tiny home for when we travel. I don't want to just live in a tiny home. Really, I'm not completely sold on that aspect just yet.
And see, there was a story of I don't know if it was the Blue Jays or what baseball team it was, but because the guy had access to like change rooms and stuff, he just fixed a van up and did just that. Like he just lived in a van. The guy was worth millions, and they're like, "Why do you live in a van?" He's like, "I literally I'm at the ball field every day. Why would I need a house? Like why would I need all this stuff, right?" But yeah, I guess it comes down to your personal aspects to like what you're looking for out of life. Honestly, because I don't know, we're not starting a family anytime soon, so like, I mean, I don't care where I live. Honestly, I don't know if I could live in a car, but right now, anyways. But at the same time, like that's why I'm more focused on traveling and stuff. Like I'd rather just spend the money on going somewhere. Like we've done a lot of traveling this year, more than I usually do. Because we went to Vegas at the beginning of the year, which was a lot of fun, but that was really educational for some of the stuff I was doing. We were so cheap about that, man. I can't get over how much we did in Vegas for like $1,500 Canadian.
I've never been yet, so.
Oh man, because I'm a full-time magician.
Yeah.
I came to the conclusion, like, I deal with some guys that are really famous from the 80s. There's a guy named Tom Mullica. There's a few guys that I know, and he ended up passing away, like, 2 weeks after I talked to him. And I told my girlfriend, like, I'm going to be really disappointed if, like, my generation's magicians start retiring or passing on and I don't get to see them live. So we went and watched, like, Penn and Teller, Copperfield, Chris Angel. It was really educational, but the whole thing was, like, even with all those shows, we did a helicopter tour of the Grand Canyon. All of that cost us literally like $1,600, I think, each, said and done, with the hotel. And we booked like the cheapest hotel, like a non-gaming. And it was just blew my mind because I'm like, we did all this stuff for like, it was, mind you, it was only 5 or 6 days. So it was a lot of money for 5 or 6 days. But for Vegas, like my buddy went literally a month later with his wife.
Yeah.
And they stayed for 5 days and they spent $6,000 between the two of them. And I'm just like, everyone's telling me, they're like, Vegas is so expensive. You guys are going to spend so much money. And I'm like, bro, we did so much for nothing. Like, you can walk around and enjoy yourself. But if you ever get a chance, man, like for fun, I don't know if you're into gambling. I'm not much of a gambler, so we didn't do anything. Stayed away from gambling, which is probably why we save so much money. But just don't stay at the main resorts. The main resorts are a joke. Do an Airbnb or something. Save yourself the money. But yeah, because we don't care. Like we're honestly like we're both living with our parents right now. So to us, it's just about getting out of the house more. Maybe going and doing some Airbnbs and just trying to find our own like what we want to end up doing, because I'm still thinking about doing cruise ships and stuff. So I don't even know if I'm going to be here for that long, to the point where I might be gone for 4 months. So I mean, we don't housing, whatever. I'd rather just do something short term, at least until we're looking long term. Do you plan on having kids or anything, or?
In the future, yeah, but not right now. I want to get some things established and everything.
Yeah.
But definitely in the future. So, no time.
Oh,
Probably 3 years. Next 3-4 years is probably the plan.
Yeah, well, I want people to tell me if they're still sticking around in this video, because we've been going for so long. Do any of you guys, like, how do you guys live? Like, are you doing like the tiny house thing? Are you guys doing like the Airbnbs, or like the really small rentals, like student housing rentals? Or are you guys living it up, owning like full flats, like your 1,500 square foot homes? I mean, it'd be neat to find out, because everyone lives so drastically differently, I find, and it's so. I feel bad for the people that are in shitty situations. Some people, unfortunately, grow up in really bad neighborhoods and stuff, which is rough. Luckily, like, I didn't grow up in the worst neighborhood, but even still, like, there was so much bad stuff going on, man. Like, it was so terrible. Like, one of my best friends ended up committing suicide. Drugs are really bad out here, which is really How bad is it in Illinois? Like, do you find drugs are a big problem?
Yes, I would say Chicago. If you've heard of Chicago,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
in Illinois. So I don't live in Chicago, though. I live in Springfield, which is the capital of Illinois, which Chicago technically should be the capital, but that's another topic. But not in Springfield. It's pretty. You have a lot more retirees, a lot of state workers, people like that here in this area.
So
Now,
you have at least like a stable neighborhood, like you've got comfortable living, and I think that's the most important before like anybody starts investing, is just finding some ground level, because like if you don't have your family in order, your health in order, like it's so hard to do anything, because that's what ends up, like, I find most people that get held back is usually something family related or their living standards. And usually it's because of, unfortunately, shittier neighborhoods, and like very few people get out of that, especially if they have a rough home life. The drama and the stress and whatever ends up really holding them back. But yeah, out here, man, it's so weird where I live. Where I live it's just so obscure. It's like a non-existent town. Like I live in a population of maybe 3,000 at the most.
wow.
It's crazy, because we're an hour from the city, and I'm always like, we're from Toronto, we're from this. It's like, I go to Toronto a lot, like I'm exposed to it, but the people out here aren't. People move out here to get away from that, and it's such a different atmosphere, and it's the small town minded. Like, nobody here ever makes a lot of money. People don't here really understand investing. They might have like an RSP. I think in the States it's a Roth IRA, which are just retirement accounts that usually they get through work, and it's such a weird vibe, and I don't like it at all. I actually hate it. I really don't enjoy the people here. I don't enjoy it out here. There's so much drama, and it never ends, and there's always something going on, and it's weird for how there's nobody out here, but there's always something crazy going on. Mind you, there's always something crazy going on in the city too, but like you can localize away from it. And it's like being in a bubble around everybody, which is out here you're not around anybody, but you're not in a bubble. Like the few people out here, like, you know what's going on. Like, everybody knows everybody's business and stuff like that. And like I said, like, this conversation wouldn't happen out here. I don't think I could sit down with anybody out here and have a real conversation about like stock market investing. And all the people that I've met out here that are usually making a lot of money are doing something corrupt. There's a lot of biker gangs out here. A lot of businesses, bikers come in and they buy like gyms in these shitty hotels, and they just use them as like shell businesses to funnel their money. And I got invited, I'm sure you know Bitcoin, obviously. I was invited to a meeting because my buddy's dad, he was making like, it was a stupid amount of money. Like, he was bringing in something like, it was like $500 or $800 a month. No, it was more than that. It was way more than that. The thing he was involved with was something called Gladiacoin. And it was the exact same thing as BitConnect. Same thing as BitConnect. It's just a Ponzi scheme where they take your money and then they pay you out with the other, like, new investors' money and stuff. And I just remember sitting at that meeting. I brought $4,000 with me because, like, my buddy's like, oh, my dad makes all this money off this investment. And I'm like, they guaranteed 100% return every 3 months. And I was like, there's no way your dad is making 100% return off his investment every. I'm like, if it is true, I'm like, I want to meet your dad. I want to go to this meeting. So he actually introduced me to his dad. We went to this meeting, and it was just Bitcoin, but it was just one of those. It was the same thing as BitConnect. It was Gladiacoin, and I was sitting at this table with these people moving millions of dollars. Like, I don't know how the hell I ended up at that table, and this lady looked at me. I swear to God, she looked at me, and she was like, if you were my son, this is what you would be doing. And I looked at her and I'm like, are you crazy? I'm like, you don't even know how this makes money. Like, you don't know what's going to happen 6 months from now. Like, you're sitting here praying to God that this whole thing works out and you guys are in early enough to make the money. I'm like, fuck. I had $4,000 in my pocket and I just refused to hand it over. And needless to say, he doesn't talk about it anymore, but he didn't make any money. In the beginning, he was making money. But at the end of it, he didn't make any money. So I'm glad I stayed the hell out of that and saved that relationship, because God knows if I got involved with that. And I'm so glad. Like, that was the day I realized, like, I'm not an idiot. Like, because in the beginning, you're so worried about your decisions and you don't know if you're making the right decisions. But, oh man, after that meeting, I was like, something's wrong. Something's wrong with the world around me. I'm like, either there's something wrong with me or something wrong with them, right? What are your thoughts on Bitcoin anyways?
You know, I don't invest in any crypto.
No?
I have no cryptocurrency or anything like that. I haven't researched it any, so I'm not really knowledgeable on it at all. So I really wouldn't know where to start.
You don't nothing about it, eh? I learned a lot about it, and I get it, but I don't get Bitcoin. I get like the platform and like the whole what's it called? And I sound like I know what I'm talking about, and I can't even remember what's the blockchain. So, like, the whole blockchain system makes sense, but the problem is everybody's just ripping off the blockchain and doing their own version of it. And just because Bitcoin's so early, people think it's the one, but people don't understand it, first of all. Like, nobody understands Bitcoin, so, like, if people can't understand it, why would they invest into it unless you're just doing it ignorantly? And the second thing is you're trying to compete with, like, Visa and MasterCard, and you don't offer any guarantees. Like, my credit card got stolen twice last year. They reimbursed the money immediately and then just sent me a new card. It was literally one phone call and it was done. And I'm like, do you know how many people have had their Bitcoin stolen?
Can't get that back, man.
Yeah, nobody getting their Bitcoin back. Like, it doesn't, the system is so flawed that way. I get what it's doing, and I get it has a face in reality, but the only face it has is like in the corruption side. Because you couldn't do Gladiacoin or BitConnect legally with a currency. Like, you couldn't take US dollars and start like a Ponzi scheme like that and get away with it. Whereas with BitConnect, people made billions of dollars ripping people off, and nobody goes to jail for it because it's not a real currency. Like, there's nothing tying it to the law. And people don't see that. They don't get that. They're like, they love it, but I'm like, you don't understand. Like, you can hate the government all you want, but you don't get them helping you anymore. Like, you're in the Wild West, buddy. Like, you're pulling like from your 6-shooter from your hip. Like, you're on your own.
I don't understand it a lot, man, and to me, it was too difficult to completely understand, so I stayed away from it.
Yeah, which is the best advice any investor can have. And on that note, I think I'll talk to you a little bit more. We'll finish the stream up here and say bye, because we've been going on for a good hour now, haven't we?
Has it been that long?
It's 4:15. When did we start? It was like 3:30. I don't want to drown out. I hate. Well, I guess people enjoy the long live streams, but I still want to ask you some more personal stuff that we'll ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
Off this. So,
are we ending it here?
Yeah, we could end it here. I guess we'll say bye to everybody. It's been the first not live stream, but the first live chat I've ever done. You are the first for that, and
I just want to say thanks for having me, man. It's been a pleasure just getting to talk to you, man, and everything, man. Great energy, very knowledgeable. Looking forward to seeing where your channel goes. And actually, before we go, if you don't mind me asking real quick, what is some goals that I wanted to ask you for your channel? Because I know you have a lot of things you have going. You have your course you have working. What is something I know you're working on getting monetized? You're about 60 subscribers away from that, 1,000 subs. So that's super exciting, man. So I'm just kind of curious on what's your goals for, your channel.
Honestly, it's weird because I'm not looking. When you're looking too far out, especially with the YouTube channel, it's hard because a lot of people think they're just going to get 50 or 100,000 subs, and there is ways to achieve that, especially if you're looking at like AdSense or if you're looking to do more collabs like this. I always, when it comes to my own personal goals, especially with the YouTube stuff, it's honestly just the daily grind. Like, I'm trying to get to that 1,000 subs first because I want to make sure the monetization works, and once I have that set up, like, I'll be so much more focused on the video aspect of it, because right now it takes up a lot of my time. And obviously, I've been cramming this for a whole year now, and I haven't made a dime. Like I say, so if you're getting value out of this, I hope you're getting some value, the people watching this, because like I'm not making any money off this. But the end goal is to get to a point where I want to provide more value than I ask for. So my only goal is that hopes people are actually going to keep watching the content, like I'm doing a good enough job to keep them engaged, and I get to a point where I can make enough money that it's worth continuing, because obviously my business plan with this is about 3 years. So, and that's another good advice to give people, like when you're starting YouTube channels and stuff, like you've got to look at least 3 to 5 years out on any business you're doing, and you have to have those kind of subsets of where you want to see yourself. So my first goal was getting to 1,000 subs, and I said, look, if I can get to 1,000 subs within a year, I'm on track with most of the people that I've watched. Because a lot of the YouTubers I watch say it takes about a year and a half before you start making any real money, and most people don't even get 1,000 subs within the first year. So like the fact that I'm there now means I'm doing something right. Like at least people are engaging, they're enjoying. And then my final goal is just to set up a system with YouTube where I can help people, again, passively. So the idea with the course, I'll be more involved with the course because I actually want to be able to talk to people like this. I want to find a way to monetize like this engagement that me and you are doing. So I'm hoping I can do that through a course. But honestly, my first goal is if I can make anywhere from even $50 to $100 a month off YouTube, like I'm pretty happy. Like just getting that first little bit of income would make a big deal and big difference in my life. And then like after that, like I'm hoping it's going to grow over time because this niche is so good. And another thing for YouTubers too, man, is finding that niche. It is so hard finding a niche that works because I started with the magic and I focused on a YouTube channel and I worked on it for like 2 years and I still only have like 600 subscribers on that channel. Yeah. It crushed me, man. But on Facebook, we were killing it. Like Facebook, I was generating like 200,000-300,000 views of video. Like it was doing so well, but the problem was it's back then you couldn't monetize Facebook as easily. Yeah. You had to use private platforms, and I just had no success finding people that I could partner with or try and find a way to monetize it. And especially in Magic, there's no Magic is more geared toward like you watch it once, it's one and done. Like there's no real connecting with people. They watch it, they review it, they try and make fun of you. There's a lot of critics. When you're performing anything, there's so many critics online. But with this stuff, like I've never found a community, especially like the finance community, where everyone is so open. Because I don't care if I'm wrong. I'm open to being wrong. So if I make a mistake, I'm going to find out if you don't tell me anyways. And if you argue with me and I'm wrong, well, then you get to say I told you so. And I love that. Like I love that so much. And I think a lot of people are scared of that. But it's honestly the reason I love this community so much because people are just...
Grow, man. You know, it's what helps you grow.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, I mean, if somebody's new to this, because I'm still new to this, and you're obviously new to this, like, we're both in the same game still. Honestly, man, if you have to have the time. If you don't have the time, it's impossible. Like I said, me and your circumstances, you're grinding. Like, you're probably grinding way harder than I am right now, because you have probably the full-time job, whatever you're managing. You got your wife at home. Like, I see my girlfriend, like, once a week still. Like, once or twice a week, I see my girlfriend, and then the rest of the week, I'm just hammering. Like, I'm just dealing with clients, like, just looking for more shows to do, private jobs, whatever. And then the rest of the time, it's just what's the next YouTube video that's going to be fun for me. Because the other thing is not getting bored. When you're cramming out videos every day, like, how do you not get bored, right? So that comes another problem.
Man, I wanted to kind of say that it's crazy. There's times, man, I've seen you upload 5 videos in, like, a matter of 3 days.
And the quality is not bad, right?
The quality is still good. So I was like, man, this dude is on it, man. So I was just like, congrats to that, man.
I've been doing videos, though, man, for so long. Like, I've been doing videos for, like, since I was 16, I've been uploading videos to YouTube. So, like, for me, it's just, and I'm so used to my editing software, like, I can bang things out that don't, like, the quality's better than most people's, but I have so much experience with it. But at the same time, like, you have to set away 3 or 4 hours a day. So I mean, like, if you get home from work and you're exhausted, it's hard to keep that quality up. And I'm used to being on stage all the time anyway, so for me to be like super giddy and live and happy, it's just my life. So like public speaking is another big thing too, right? Like you have to find a way to be comfortable, because YouTube is technically just a public platform, but because you're in your own little room, you tend to forget the fact that you're actually projecting yourself to an audience. And if your video gets 500 views, that's the equivalent of standing on stage in front of 500 people. Like, it's the same thing, which is awesome. So what are your personal goals? What are you trying to achieve with your YouTube channel? Like, where do you want to see yourself?
Yeah, so my goal is honestly to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Honestly, before I started this channel, I started June 9th was the exact day I created the channel. And I am actually doing pretty well on how fast I've been growing this last year.
Yeah, what are you sitting at?
So,
I'm going to open you up here and take a quick peek.
I don't know where I'm at now.
You got 547. Not bad.
Nice. We're growing strong. So thanks to all the subscribers there. But my goal is to get to 1,000. So, but for me personally, I'm still working on getting my watch time as well. But even when I get to the 1,000 subs, because I believe the subs are going to come way faster than the watch time, I'm not going to just up and put ads on my videos. And for me, I want to get to the point where my community is saying, hey, Mike, why don't you have ads on your videos yet? And the reason why is because that shows that you really have the trust and the value of your subscribers in your community. Because I went to big channels, or I went to even channels that's not that big, but that has the trust and the engagement of the community. And I've seen comments where they say, hey, why don't you have ads on your videos yet? Well, why don't you have this yet? And that just goes to show that they want to give back to you. And for me, I've seen channels that get monetized and they put ads on there and you start to see their viewers slip.
Now,
because you haven't gained that full trust yet.
Tell me if I'm wrong.
Go ahead.
I'm not 100% on this. I don't think it matters whether you monetize or not, because I think YouTube puts ads in your videos anyways. I've opened videos, especially on my channel, from other people's phones, and ads come up, and my girlfriend's pointed this out to me as well, and she's like, how are they running ads on your videos if you're not even monetized? And I'm like, that's a good question. I'm like, I don't know if that's an error.
I've seen that as well, and then sometimes if you watch a video, you'll see the yellow spots in the timeline.
Yeah.
But if you're watching, sometimes it'll play, and then sometimes it won't. So I don't know exactly how that works with the algorithm.
Even the ads that pop up outside of the video, because you have a lot of control once you have monetization about where those ads appear and how many you want to appear. But at the same time, like, I've noticed ads on unmonetized videos, so it's just like, it's kind of heartbreaking because you're like, you're not going to let me monetize my 500 viewers, but you're going to monetize them anyways. Like, that's not exactly fair, but it's Google, right? Like, you're bowing to them, so I mean, it is what it is, right? But
just kind of on that side, I don't know. I just kind of want to make sure I'm not going to wait. I mean, a super long time, but I just want to make sure I have that engagement still.
Yeah.
Because I've seen channels that kind of lost some engagement. You know, because you put maybe too many ads in your videos, or I don't know. I just think you should move strategically during this, you know, on this platform. And like you said before, you know, this is a marathon and not a race. You know, if it took you a year to get monetized, what's waiting another month or 2 months to finally put ads on your videos?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know. That's just kind of how I look at it. And I know everyone doesn't look that way. But to me, it kind of looks at when you query up and do it, depending on kind of where your channel is and your engagement, it kind of seems desperate. Kind of seems like you're trying to get that quick buck.
Yeah.
I just want to, my goal is to give as much value as possible, and the money will follow.
I think that should be everybody's goal. Like, that's prime thing to finish on right there, which is just provide value. If you're not bringing value in some form, like, there's no connection. No one's going to care. And like we've been saying, right? Like, nobody really understands the finance world, and it's weird because when you've been in it long enough, like, you get so used to it. And I remember when I was starting, like, learning the ticker symbols and trying to figure out how it worked, it was so nuanced. But now it's like every day I'm just hammering, like, looking at this, looking at those charts, like, talking to people about whatever levels they're playing. And now it's just like you keep forgetting that people don't know any of that. So my girlfriend always tells me to, like, she's like, you need to wind back a bit and realize, like, people have no idea what the hell you're talking about. So I get all excited talking about, like, index funds and, like, mutual funds and, like, what people are trying to do and achieve and dividends, and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, and to us, it's normal, right? So hopefully the people watching this are learning something and they're getting something, especially out of this conversation. So hopefully in the future, we'll have to sit down and maybe we'll do, like, a 6-month catch-up. And I'm going to be trying to link my other email up because, man, like, I feel so bad that I didn't get back to your email. I'm like, oh my God, this guy sent me this email like literally a month ago. I never replied to it. It's a horrible month. It was a bad month.
It's no problem. Honestly, man, it happened for a reason because I don't know. I mean, you're a super nice guy, so maybe you would have, but at the time I reached out, you were at like 700 subscribers. And when I reached out, I only had like 150.
Oh wow, good for you, man, crushing it.
So if you see the growth, where obviously, you know, you're still a lot higher than me, but it's a lot more, you know, closer together. I have a bigger, you know, audience to help.
I guess one more question: what are you finding is best helping grow your channel? This would be a good topic before we finish up too.
Absolutely, I would say just honestly, man, commenting back to every single comment. You know, like whether it's a like, a love heart, or responding back to whatever comment, keeping the engagement there. I do use TubeBuddy a lot with tags, thumbnails, your titles, and I know I don't want to go in too much in detail on that, but I know you have been messing around with it, just seeing your channel and how you use your tags. So I do know you understand that as well.
So aside from the tags, I'm trying something new out that might be helpful to some people, and because it's through Google's algorithm, and they said they fixed this and they changed it, but I don't think they've changed it that much, and it's backlinking. I'm starting to experiment a lot with backlinking because my YouTube channel at the beginning, the growth was so great because I was sharing the link on forums, and then all of a sudden the forums kicked me off, and they started blocking my accounts because nobody likes you promoting your channels now on like forums, except for StockTwits. I literally told them that when I was there. I'm like, the only reason I love you guys is because you haven't banned me yet for sharing my content. But I swear, man, there has to be something to do with those backlinks because like I watch PPC in and he shares a lot of his stuff on his website, and there's just same with a lot of other guys that I watch that had a lot of explosive growth, and I've noticed that they've been sharing it through a lot of other websites, and I don't know if those backlinks give you higher ranking on Google because they used to. Like there was a big thing about backlinking that like pissed Google off because people were paying to have their links shared on like hundreds of websites to get them ranked, and then they said they changed the algorithm, but I don't think they got rid of that as a piece of the pie.
Right, because I know for websites still, like backlinking, like for your websites, like I know, like going out on us.
It's like, hurry up. It's all good. We'll finish with this topic.
But yeah, so, but I do know that I believe it still works for backlinking websites, but I have no idea on that, man. Like,
yeah, because I was looking at like my YouTube analytics, and it would show me what people were watching from StockTwits and what places people were coming from to watch the content. But even if it, like, I noticed that like there wasn't that many people actually coming off the forums watching my content. But at the same time, I noticed like the views that I was getting from random like being shared, like my YouTube videos, was so much higher than it is right now. And I've noticed the only thing that's changed is I don't have any of these backlinks anymore because, again, I got banned from all these different accounts. But at the same time, like the correlation didn't make sense because I wasn't getting a lot of views off the forums. But at the same time, my videos were just... And then all of a sudden, like things have just flatlined a lot on the channel. But like I said, I'm always experimenting. So I'm going to try and... I'm going to make it so my website starts promoting more of my YouTube. Honestly, I've been hiding this channel for the longest time, man. This channel has been like my personal little like back door to my life because nobody knows I was doing it for like the last 8 months. And I told my parents, my girlfriend and stuff, and I'm just like, I don't want anybody knowing about this until I know it can actually like achieve something. And because I'm still too new to this, I want to get to a point where I have everything set up so when I'm promoting it to people that I meet in the real world and they come to this, it doesn't make me look bad. Because I'm a public figure, right? Like, man, I get all my jobs off people going to my website, looking me up, and I'm like, I don't know if this finance thing is like too out of the box right now for like people to just look at me from me promoting it out in the world. That's another big thing too, man. Like, people have to get out of just the online aspect of it and go out into the real world.
And network, yeah.
That's huge, man. Networking that way is honestly huge. My other YouTube channel, one of my friends came to a big show that I did last month. And I just invited her for free, but she vlogged my show, and like I got like 30 subscribers from that vlog that she posted within like the first day she posted it, and I was just like, damn, too bad. I'm thinking about starting to utilize my other YouTube channel and maybe start posting some content there too. But yeah, I don't know. The YouTube game's rough, man. Honestly, though, I think me and you are on a good path. I think like we're doing pretty well. Like I've noticed that me and especially with the growth you're having, I think you're having better growth than I am right now. But comments are a big thing. I notice when I comment a lot, I get subscribers. But I think we're doing the right thing, man. I think for me and you, I think we just got to keep the grind going and just keep forward facing and not slow down. Because we're on par. Like we're on the par with what I've learned. I'm not like my other channel where I'm putting a year into it and I have 500 subs.
Yeah.
Everything seems to be following in line. So just keep grinding, I guess, and hopefully things will work out. So it's not too bad. But
about the lighting, guys.
Yeah, I guess it's a little earlier there for you than me. I'm sitting at 4:30. You're probably only at 3:30 right now.
Yeah, 3:30.
But I guess we'll finish up with that. Man, there's so much value in this. This is why I love doing this stuff. Like, this needs to happen more.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. This was a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on the channel, man. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for your man, Kyle, the passive income investor, or I like to call him the six-figure man.
I appreciate it. If you guys want to check out Mike the Investor, I'll leave all your links. I've been throwing your channel up here and there, but I'll definitely leave all the links down in the description below if you guys want to go check Mike out, and hopefully you'll follow both of our progress as we continue to grow as investors here, and hopefully you're learning something as well. But we'll finish with that, so stay cool, stay awesome, guys. I look forward to chatting to you real soon.
And we will see you guys back